Hey guys, Pat here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. And recently I was on Facebook Marketplace again and looking for a chipper. So when I'm clearing up there at the other property, I won't have so many limbs and big piles of brush. So what this thing doesn't chip, I'll burn on the fireplace. Or find a place to bury like roots and stuff like that. Maybe mulch them up, let them rot in place, and then just put them in the ground for fertilizer for gardening. So I bought that for probably a little better than a third of the price new. It's a 2015 WM8H wood chipper from Woodmaxx. So I was taking a chance when I bought it. When it came to the house, it was black and green. It'd been sitting ever since 2015. The guys I bought it from, they have a farm. I think they said they have under like 16 hours on it. I don't know if they went skydiving with it and forgot to put a parachute on it or what the deal was, but this right here was bent down. You can see the stress right here and a little bit of stress on the other side. This right here was bent out, and this was puckered out a little bit. It was kind of bent down, and when I rotated the flywheel, it's got two cutter knives in there, and there's a flywheel in there, heavy flywheel, and it was brushing up against this corner. I'd found out. These arms here were bent, so I straightened them out. I bolted the whole chipper on the flatbed trailer here, and then took a jack, 20-ton jack, and then jacked this back into place. I had this all cribbed in, and so I wasn't pressing against any of this. To straighten this out, I was actually using some cribbing or short wood beams I stacked up around the PTO hook up here, and then got another piece. I had another piece of 1/4 inch by 2 by 2. The pipe was 1/4 inch, and put that in there, and then jacked up against that, and that bent this all back into place. I overextended it just a little bit to give it flex so it would come back in. You guys have straightened metal before. I believe you probably know what I'm talking about. Metal kind of has a memory, so if you just bent it straight and you took the pressure off it, it would relax, still in the bent position. This thing was all stoved up, and so I got it working. It's still a little bit stiff, but at least I can move it. That's the chute for the chips coming off of it. I pressure washed it and everything. I took video on this, but it got lost in a computer somewhere or off into cyberspace someplace. I checked the knives. They're like brand new. The guy gave me 2 extra knives with this. I also noticed that this flange here on this bearing is cracked right here, so I'll need to change that out. Where the quick connect goes into the 3-point hitch on the tractor, that was absolutely froze up, so I had to tear it apart, relubricate it, and put it back together again. I still have this side yet to do. This little collar here is supposed to slip out. You know, you're supposed to be able to grab that and pull it and slip out and take that off of there, but yeah, that thing is froze on tight, so I'm going to have to pound on it a few times with the percussion adjustment and lubricate it and get it worked loose. This didn't have a lifting pin before, so I made this. This was stoved up a little bit. You can still see it. I got to put some anti-seize on here, but I got that working again. Like I said, it's been sitting around, and in this country, it's wet, and rust loves wet, so I'm actually thinking it's in pretty good shape for being sitting around ever since 2015. The other thing I purchased and I'll show you the reason why, is a new pulley assembly, which I don't think there's anything wrong with this one. Looking at it, studying it, I think it just needs to be adjusted. But I went ahead and bought a new pulley and a new jack shaft, just in case this other one's bent. And I just want to put it down to an idle, just so you can see what's going on. Okay, you see that? Wobbling. So that jack shaft acts like it's bent. Before changing out the jack shaft, I'm going to see if I can adjust this pulley. Okay, so what we have on the pulley, and I was probably should not have bought this until I made this determination. This doodad is wedged, and I'm thinking that this is off. So I think that the 4 bolts that are actually on the existing, these 4 bolts here, I believe these 4 bolts can adjust that to put this back into the square perpendicular to the shaft. So what I need to do is, first of all, disconnect everything. I have to disconnect the tractor, the 3-point, and disconnect this. I also had to make this shorter. That's the other thing I had to do. And then get this to where it comes off of there. I'll disconnect the tractor and get started on that, and then see if I can get a square or straight edge, and see if I can line these up in square with the shaft. That might be kind of tricky to do. We do have the inspector Cody on site checking stuff out. I think he's more interested in rats and mice and birdies than fixing a chipper, but there he is. For all you guys looking for him to make a cameo appearance on my videos. Anyway, here we go. So let me take all this apart. Yeah, a little WD-40 liquid wrench or whatever this guy's got, just to get things going here. Thump it around a little bit, give it a percussion adjustment. This one might not be as bad as that one that I got on the other side, and I'm glad, because this one's harder to get to. This other one I could just take this into the shop or into the truck, put it in the vise and thump on it. And it's got a little keeper ring here that I had to take off, and then all this came apart, and there was bearings and stuff in there that I had to lubricate and get all the rust and gunk out of it. Again, it's been sitting outside since 2015, so it's actually in pretty good shape, I think. Now that's not bad at all, actually. But before I stick that back on there, I'll clean that up and grease that so we won't have this problem anymore. I'm looking at this as far as depth on the pulley versus the depth on the wedge shaped piece, and that looks really at the same depth. This down here, however, this part here looks like it's out further, and this part looks like it's in further. I think that I'm going to have to just adjust these. I think probably it would be better for me to disassemble that so everything moves freely. Again, this is a wedge shaped piece. That's this guy, and this is tapered. This is a machine tapered piece that goes right in here. now that slides back and forth real easy. See that? See that?
Yeah.
Those are called quick clamps.
What is these?
What do they do?
No, these.
They quickly clamp. This is done with the help of the big goober head. Well, Grandpa's got to take this pulley off of here.
Oh.
In order to do that, I got to take these belts off of here.
No.
2 bearings underneath here I got to take loose to give me slack on that jack shaft. They call that a jack shaft. Hopefully that's straight. But if it ain't, we'll have to replace it. This might be 13/16.
Oh.
By golly, that is a 13/16. Okay, can I manage this? Can I manage it, buddy?
Yeah.
Thank you for the encouragement. It's kind of tough to get in here, ain't it, buddy? Well, that's 7/8 there. And the top one's 13/16. I'm sure that's by design, so you can use different wrenches on it, huh? What do you think, Jax?
Yeah.
Well, now that's an option. We don't want to loosen them up. We want to loosen these up. I think that would be better. What do you think?
Yeah.
Okay. The tensioner spring had to come off that eye bolt. It's shaped the same way, so going on is not going to make a difference. Okay, the thing I was trying to avoid was to take these pillow blocks off of here. So there's 2 pillow blocks holding the jack shaft in place underneath. 4 bolts inside this plate. Here you go, you can see my wrench on the one. Right there. Underneath there's blocks just like this one, except for a little bit smaller. And so we got bolts on the bottom there we got to take off.
What are you doing?
I got to take these pillow blocks off of here, bud.
Can you help us?
Yeah, you can come over here and hold this wrench for me, buddy, on this other side. Looking underneath the chipper, you can see these 2 bearings. They have to actually come off. I think I'm just going to go ahead and replace that jack shaft. Means we're this far into it, I'd hate for me to bolt all this back together knowing that I have a jack shaft and not put it on there hoping that it's straight. I think I'll just take it off, replace it with a new one, and go from there. Okay, here we go, back at her. Yep, I think I'll just take it all apart and I will put a new one on there. Now it's apart. Now I gotta fix it. Like I said, man, that thing is cast iron, heavy duty. I can't see it as being bent, but I have a new one. I may as well put it on. These guys, I'll take this into the truck, take these out, maybe take some measurements. I think I'll have to take a puller and pull this off. Assemble the new jack shaft, and I'm pretty sure that guy's bent. There, so it's pretty much square right in here. I roll that around, it almost touches the square here, and then I roll to the opposite side. It looks true. Now it's closer, so the bend goes like this. These can be straightened out, and as a matter of fact, you know, I might even be able to straighten that out on the press. But for right now, we are just going to take it off of there. Now we're just cleaning the rust off of this. The little bit of rust build up so that can slide off of there. I'm not trying to remove any material. Like I say, not that the shaft is in good shape the way it is anyway. But if there's any hope of straightening it out, well then we'll have an extra. Okay, that's that one. And it doesn't really matter how those go on. However, I'll set this just like that and put them on the same way as it came off. I'm pretty sure it doesn't matter. That one shouldn't have a whole lot of problem coming off because there's no rust on the end of it. And it was mounted right next to the back side of the jack shaft, so it should come off. There we go. Come off pretty easy. Okay. Yes, I think this is a guilty party here. Clean the insides of these out so they slip on the new shaft easy. And I'm going to apply a little bit of lubricant on that shaft. That way, if the guy ever has to take it apart again, then it won't be so difficult. And that goes in the front. Just like that. All right. All right, let's see what we got here. Wonderful. Take the burrs off that I put on there, trying to get this thing off of here. Yeah, this thing is dummy proof. You don't have to do any measurements at all. Except for the front. And you just want to line that up with the existing block on there. So what I did when I purchased this, I went ahead and what I like to do with a lot of equipment is I like to get extra parts. What I mean by that is high wear parts like springs that might break, extra blades. This one here I got a counter that must have came out in later models, but that'll tell me the RPM on the machine when I have it running. Things that might bend easy, like these. When I bought this was easily bent, so I bent the old ones back straight, but I went ahead and purchased new ones. And extra belts, extra springs. I heard that these break every so often, so I got a couple extra sets of those. Extra filter. Here's that extra grommet that I purchased. The other one was weather checked and falling apart. These springs go back behind where the feed is, the feed roller is. And this little spring here goes down on the tensioner on the belts. Extra bolt sets for the set of knives that I got. I got an extra set of knives. Those are parts that, you know, in my mind would have a tendency of breaking or wearing out on you, so I wanted just to go ahead and get those parts. Glad I did, because with the way those belts look, I think we're needing to replace them. 423646 replaces B43 L460. This is best torque. And that's an X5, a BX46, replaces B46 and 5L46 or 5L490. I just knew I would do this. Go ahead and just replace everything while I had it tore apart. Tightening up the bolts on the bottom, bolting those bolts to this plate, the yellow plate where the bearings will rest. Now, experiencing this a little bit more, you know, kind of educating myself on the fly here, is this bolt here. This bolt, there's a bolt back behind this angle iron. It looks like that one. And two the same on the other side. Those are the last ones that you tighten up, because that holds this plate and this plate together. This plate here is attached to those two flanges that the jack shaft runs through. That one right there, and then this one right here, and then there's two more on the other side. Those can adjust forward and back, and a little bit left to right, but not much. Yes, so you know, a little bit left to right. You have a little bit of play here, and the trick is to go back and forth between lining up this shaft and pulley with this shaft and pulley, so you don't have any air space or any, don't have any gaps, no air, no, you can't see any sunlight through any of these points here. Same likewise on this side, you have to do the same thing. So back and forth, lightly tightening as you go. So right here, this bolt can adjust back and forth a little bit here. So if you tighten this, it's going to want to make a bigger space right here than right here. So if you can see air, if it's not touching, if the level isn't touching on this one down here, you need to back off on this bolt here to bring this back up. So you got bolts in the front here, and then you also have bolts in the back that can adjust this plate back and up and down. You can get this pulley face square with this pulley face, straight up and down. And then you have left and right adjustments with the bearing bolts back here. And after you get everything square, then the last thing you do is tighten this bolt, the bolt behind this, and then the two on the other side that match with that. And then when you get everything tight, just go through and make sure that all of your bolts are tight, because you got quite a few here that you're messing with. But all these bolts right here that look like this one, those need to be tightened the very last. Yeah, so anyway, I've got everything tight. The original pulley, new jack shaft, and new belts all the way around. saying says, go big or go home. I'm gonna go ahead and try chipping up a few big limbs here. This little handle here, it's got a little lock nut on here. You loosen that and you can regulate. Slow is back over here and fast is back over this way. So I had it in the fast mode. Usually when you're chipping bigger stuff, you might want to throttle it back, maybe try halfway or something. Again, this is my first go at it. So, and that was a dry piece of wood. So that might be a problem too. Lubricated or green wood that's got moisture in it, might be a little bit more digestible to this thing. I personally think that's going to make great mulch. Yeah, that looks really nice. Well, I'm finally glad that that little task is done. So anyway, that worked out fine. This handle right here goes down when that feed roller is receiving a piece of wood. So you also, when you're feeding a piece of wood, you might have to pull this down to actually get it going. But if it gets too large, it's gonna, if this thing is up, this is gonna come down and hit this handle to where it knocks it into neutral or knocks it into reverse. So it's a safety feature. I'm showing you what not to do. This should be connected on there at all times. Truth be known, anything over 5 or 6 inches, I'm going to be putting in the firewood pile anyway. So hope this was helpful to some of you guys that have one of these. Thanks for stopping by. Take care and God bless.